there comes a point in every man's life where he must either choose to stand up and fight or lay down and whimper and accept others' control over his life. As for me, I have chosen to stand up and fight for what I believe in. And I believe beyond even the shadow, the slightest inkling, modicum of a doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Watchtower Corporation is teaching false doctrine. They are misleading their members. And I'm willing to fight for that. Now, whatever these elders believe in, it's clear to me that they have chosen to lay down and accept control over their lives a very, very, very long time ago. Because you will see, you just have seen, the point-blank, discombobulated quagmire of convoluted thought that they subject themselves to, even when presented with direct, logical evidence of the missteps, the mistakes of their corporation. They choose to wash it over, ignore it. They would rather accept the control of a false entity over their lives and live it out with a little bit of power on the side than they would sacrifice everything for a true belief. That just means they don't have strong convictions. There is no honor in going out without so much as a whimper. Standing up and fighting for what you believe in is the most important of all battles. Because in true morality, when you place value upon something and allow that item or person or belief system to be compromised, then that is the most immoral course of action that a person could possibly take, because it is a violation of one's own personal principles. And if you can't be honest with yourself, then how can you expect to progress or to learn or to grow or to be a functioning human being? If you forfeit on what you believe in, then you are the epitome of immorality. And this applies to atheist, to agnostic, to Christian, to Muslim, to every human being. It does not matter what race, color, creed, or nationality you happen to belong to. If you forfeit on what you believe in, then you are, for all intents and purposes, the most evil, corrupt individual that you could possibly be. Now, going on to the commentary of the elders, they say, your association with disfellowship people, or let me try that again. Your association with disfellowship people is not unclear. As opposed to what? So if I hid my association with disfellowship people, would that be a more righteous course of action? Would it be more righteous for someone to hide who they are rather than to merely present to the world who you truly are? I guess according to the elder standards it would be. They told us that Jesus told us to associate with our brothers. Of course, in context, association is worship to the Jehovah's Witnesses. Yes, and that is true. Jesus did tell us to associate with our brothers. We are not to forsake the gathering of ourselves together. And it is true what they quoted, that where two or more are gathered in the name of Jesus, there his Spirit is also. Association very much is a part of our worship, but what they neglect to remember is that association includes people who are struggling, people who are spiritually weak. Because according to Jesus' words and his deeds, he associated himself with sinners, with troubled ones. He asked the hypocritical Pharisees, persons in health do not need a physician, do they? But the ailing do. Of what benefit is it to associate with your brother only? This was another question that Jesus posed to all of us in general. He said, there is no sacrifice in saying a greeting to your brother only. And there is no righteousness in loving those loving you. And yet this is what the Jehovah's Witness promotes. This is the type of worship that the Jehovah's Witness will cling to, and yet they forget the other half of Christ's message. The half that tells you to extend a warm, Christian, loving hand out to your brother, no matter whom they may be. They, here we go, sorry. Brother Edwards, he makes a rather stunning admission. He commented on his own time as a disfellowship person. And by the way, I would like to add that the most pathetic thing to watch is somebody crawl their way back to Watchtower Corporation. It is literally the most pathetic, pitiful sight on the face of the earth, because that is someone who has defaulted on their principles. That is someone who cannot stand the pressure of being an individual. That is someone who prizes the collective, the commune, rather than their own individual spirit. You won't find happiness that way, but that's, again, incidental. He says, well, if someone continued to associate with me, what would I miss? There would be no reason to come back to the organization. And in that admission, he codifies the precise reason why disfellowshipping works for so many individuals. Because they don't give a shit, let's face it, about the wonderful Bible truths. Even by his own admission. If he was not cut off from association, really, what would be the point of coming back to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses? The answer is there would be no point. It's part of the psychological warfare that Jehovah's Witnesses wage upon the individual mind. They get you to rely upon the Jehovah's Witness myopic society. All your friends and your family are Jehovah's Witnesses. Everyone you know and love is tied to that organization. Anything you do, anything you think about is always tied back to Watchtower Corporation. I remember when I would go out, even on a hiking trip with Jehovah's Witnesses, they couldn't go 5 minutes without making some sort of mention about Watchtower Society. And so this society becomes the personality and the representation of Jehovah's Witnesses worldwide. And when they have that facade stripped from them, they don't know what to do. And so they come crawling back to this fake, evil corporation. And that is an insidious method of gaining followers. He compares being disfellowshipped to being grounded, and that you wouldn't learn anything if you weren't, or if you were allowed to do the same things while grounded. Now, people are going to disagree with me, and I do see the merit in capital punishment, obviously, but speaking from my own experience, grounding served me in no way. It has made me, well, largely the person I am today, namely very bitter about the punishment that was exacted unjustly against me. Because more often than not, I was punished in the same way that I'm being, quote, punished in this judicial committee, because I dared to question authority, because I wanted to know the reasons why I was made to do things, rather than simply obeying orders. That's a hive mentality. That is decentralizing authority and taking it away from yourself and putting it in the hands of another callous, uncaring individual. And even as a child, I refused to do that. So grounding, at least in my experience, has served to make me a rather bitter individual. Not a healthy, well-balanced one, but one who can't even understand why my parent would choose to ground me for the things that she did. They were totally baseless and unjustified, but this is the world that Jehovah's Witnesses grow up in. It's training for later bowing before the elders' authority. Because if you can't obey your parents' authority without question, then you damn sure aren't going to be able to obey the elders', quote, authority without question. And of course, throughout the last committee meeting, I was accused repeatedly of playing word games, of wicked suspicions and all that assorted nonsense. But then we get into even listening to the tape, I had to go through the passage 3 or 4 times, and I'm still not entirely sure what was happening. But they were trying to pigeonhole me on the definition of apostate, and we were going back and forth. in such confusing ping pong type of ways that I don't even understand what the discussion was all about. It was so mixed up and convoluted that you can't even glean what the discussion was based upon. But that's not the important thing, as the elders, of course, admitted. The important thing, rather, is to get me to admit my guilt, regardless of whether I'm guilty or not. And on that definition of apostasy, the Brother Edwards, I asked him what his definition was and whether it agreed with the Bible or something to that effect. And he said, did I stutter? So in that, he is demonstrating his haughty attitude. Of course, he had no idea what was going on. He's too dim-witted to have any clue as to what the conversation was all about. But that's okay. That could be forgiven. There are many stupid people on earth today. Brother Edwards is just one of them. But rather, he proved how haughty he truly was. Well, did I stutter? So there. Fuck you, Ethan. Fuck you. Ha, I'm the elder in this committee meeting. Just like Brother Trinkle when he said, well, you're 19. You don't have the experience to understand what's going on. Fuck you, Ethan. The entire committee meeting was essentially just a giant middle finger to me. And it has not served to make me very happy or very pleased with the treatment I received by Jehovah's Witnesses. But, yeah. So they incite me, encourage me to be united in thought. Now that's something the Jehovah's Witnesses prize and treasure above all else. United in thought. But, as we pointed out, united in thought does not mean believing in the same doctrine. And of course, also, speaking of doctrines, this premise that they're setting up, well, you have to be united in thought. We all have to believe the exact same thing. If you don't believe the exact same thing, then obviously you're not a real Christian. That goes contrary to their own teachings, because as I was raised growing up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, they believe in the free will doctrine. And they believe that Jehovah does not want all of his creatures to be static, stodgy, robot, reincarnation, carbon copies of one another. He wants us to be different and diverse. And honestly, I can't necessarily disagree with that premise. There are those who believe in predestination and the, micromanaging deity that will say, no, we don't have free will. But as for me, that is what I am most convinced of. And so it occurs to me that by insisting we all be united in the exact same thought, the exact same beliefs, that's precisely contrary to what they say they claim to believe in. They say that Jehovah wants us to have free will and make up our own mind and come to our own conclusions and reasonings about things, while at the same time saying that Jehovah wants us to believe in the exact same thing. So he wants us to curtail the free will that he gave us. Is this not an inherently contradictory teaching? Well, I think it is. Now, as for the rest of the video, I can't even really begin to comment on it because it was so overly complex. There were so many different things going on. I will leave that part of the commentary in your, the viewer's, more than capable hands. Because you can disseminate that information piece by piece, but I have things that I have to do tonight, so I wasn't able to go through it as much as I would like to do. But hey, cut me some slack. I've been doing this nearly every night. So yeah, remember that life is a state of mind, and I am just thoroughly looking forward to the next installment in this ongoing series. I told you at the beginning of this it'd be a hell of a ride, and I don't think I lied. I think it has been quite enjoyable. See you next time, folks.